The 417Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, Episode 12, the one with mechanics. In this episode, Andrea and I discuss 4 things that we have either enjoyed in the 417 area or looking forward to, as per the usual. Then, in the one topic of the week, we are joined by Christopher James, comedian from the showboat Branson Bell, and his family now own and run the Branson board game cafe, Dice and Dine. Then in the 7, all 3 of us, Christopher, myself, and Andrea, we discuss 7 board game mechanics. Let's get on with the show. The 4 in the 417 Gamers is the 4 things we are looking forward to or have enjoyed in the 417 area. I'm just going to promote 2 because we're actually going to be on vacation when the 2 that I'm looking forward to are going to happen. The first one's the Japanese Fall Festival. That is over at Nathaniel Green Park at the back at the Japanese Stroll Gardens. They have various demonstrators and clubs come out and entertain the peoples. They have kind of themed food trucks. We had one that was kind of a Japanese stir-fry style truck that came out. Of course, Springfield style Chinese came out. Mm-hmm. The Takeo drum company from St. Louis came down last year, and I don't know who's coming in this year.
They come every year, so I'm assuming they'll be there.
But there were like different. There was like some Kyoshi style dancers, or
yeah.
I'm probably pronouncing that bad. Kyoshi, I think, is Avatar. Don't judge me. Actually, judge me. But it's a fantastic time. It takes place September 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Nathaniel Green Park. So since this drops the 10th, if you're listening to this when this episode comes out, you're on the last day to go see it. Go see it. Go see it. Go see it. Andrea, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I was going to go, if we weren't going on vacation, I had signed up to go to Make Your Own Cauldron.
I saw that.
It's a pottery event by Creative Studios on East St. Louis Street. And when we got the game Whirling Witchcraft, it comes with these really cute little cardboard cauldrons that you put your pieces in and you pass them around the table. But I thought it would be really cool to have my own cauldron that I made myself. They're little tiny cauldrons,
right? And
that you make in one class. But yeah, if you guys are interested, they do this about once or twice a month.
Who's doing it?
The Creative Studio on 1637 East St. Louis Street.
And what date are they doing that?
Well, they do one about once a month. September 9th is the next one that they've got coming up. I'll do the one in October since we're going to be gone for our vacation.
Yeah.
But I just think that's a really cool idea. And there are several games that we have. The little cauldron, I think, would make a good little extra.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, we can put it as like a table piece and put some little spices and whatnots.
Absolutely.
Some poopery.
Speaking of poops.
Yeah?
Or pups. Pups make poops.
Oh, you want to do the next one? Go ahead.
Sure. Paws for Poker. It is by Care Animal Rescue. It's really cool. I mean, the prizes, the prize pool, they've got over $20,000 in prizes for the prize pool for this poker tournament.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and all the proceeds go to Care Animal Rescue. They do 30-minute blind raises if you're familiar with poker. This is actually the 7th through the 10th because they'll have elimination rounds until the finals on the 10th. It's just such a great cause. They help so many animals, and I love playing poker. So it's 2 things that I really am passionate about. So
what date is that?
It starts on September 7th through the 10th. They have an event on Facebook where you can sign up.
Nice. And then the last one is yet another thing that we're going to be gone for. Everything's in the middle of September this month.
Apparently, it's the time to do things.
But I think that's kind of the time that it happened last year, too. We had to pick on what we wanted to do because we went to the fall festival, the Japanese Fall Festival, and I think we missed out on like 2 or 3 other things.
We did.
Mother's Octoberfest. Mother's Brewery puts out some decent beers.
Some pretty good beers.
Some that I really like. Beer is absolutely subjective. Some people love, some people hate.
Sure.
People in this area that love their coffee, wait for winter grind, and buy the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I hate coffee, but I like their Oktoberfest just fine. There's a couple different Oktoberfest style beers that I do enjoy, and your brother really likes.
Oh, he loves it.
Oktoberfest, but Mother's usually does an Oktoberfest, and this time it's going to be September 9th at Mother's Brewery, and they are over at 215 South Grant Avenue. It's $5 to get in, and then there's food vendors, there's, of course, beer vendors, there's going to be a German-style long haul where there's going to be some various, like, polka music, people in the lederhosen, so dress up as if you want.
Yeah.
Take your lawn chairs, but have a good time. It's a fun time.
Yeah, they've got a great big open area right behind the brewery where they have these events. It's really convenient because they've got enough parking there for people too. So I really encourage people to go.
Yeah. So those are the 4 things that we are looking forward to. All looking forward to. We had a good August, but there's a lot of stuff on that counter like, oh, we wish we could go to that. We're looking forward to it.
Yes.
Just can't go. It's all right. It's life.
You all go for us.
Yeah, you guys go. Have fun. But we're going to be joined by a guest, Christopher James, comedian from the Showboat Branson Bell. He and his family acquired a thing down in Branson. Let's get into the next segment, and we'll talk a little bit with him. The one in the 417 Gamers is a topic of a week that we've suggested. This month, we're talking about board game mechanics. And we're joined by a guest from the Branson Board Game Cafe, Chris.
Hi there.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, board game mechanics is how you interact with your board games. Later in the episode, in our 7, we're going to talk about 7 board game mechanics, define them, and some games to go with. There are multiple things that go into a board game. The theme, so what kind of subject material it's around, but the mechanics are what you dive into and play with the game with. How important is that whenever you go buy a game? Whenever you look at a game, do you look at the mechanics first? Do you look at theme first?
Me, I look at the theme first, to
Do
tell
you?
you the truth, yeah.
Me
yeah,
too.
'cause if it's not a theme that catches my attention, I really have no interest in learning it, no matter what the mechanic is.
Yeah.
There's a few games that are the most popular games here every single week, because we log every game that everybody plays. And we sit down, we try to play any game that pops up at the top, and there are a few I just don't get. Like,
Yeah.
I find them so boring as soon as I open the box.
Very dry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It has to be a theme that I understand and I can connect with in some way to understand what I'm doing. Viticulture, you're making wine. That makes sense. You plant grapes, you grow grapes, you harvest grapes, you make wine, you sell wine. I understand that.
Yeah, we have a thing here where all of our employees will have to teach me games every once in a while. They learn a game, they teach it to all the other employees, and that's how we do our interview when we're bringing somebody in. I say, teach me a game. And during that, I can learn everything about them. But immediately, there's been a few where I'm just like, but why are we doing this? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why do I care what color somebody is thinking of U's and Q's?
Yeah.
I can't stand that game. I can't stand it. But yeah, the theme is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. Mechanics mean more to me than anything.
Yeah.
I have so many different themes in our collection that if another theme pops up, I'm like, hey, that's kind of cute, but how does it play? As we'll talk, I put it at the top of the list. Worker placement is a big mechanic that I love to play. There's a game called Pret-a-Porter. It is fashion design. You're putting your little workers to go get bolts of cloth and hire designers and make the best dress to go out on the fashion runway. I don't care about fashion. I don't care about dresses. But me putting a token on the board to take the resources I want to make my puzzle work to get me points, it messes with my brain in the right way to cause the right endorphins. I'm like, oh, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Now, I've had a mistake with that. There was a game that I came across here. We have so many board games.
Oh, sure.
1,400 of them just to play here.
Yeah.
And so every once in a while I walk around, I'm like, oh, look at that one. It was Liftoff. Do you know Liftoff?
I don't.
Oh, it's a beautiful box. It's 1950s style artwork about space.
Mm-hmm.
And you're launching rockets. into
Nice.
space
I'm
using
interested.
1950. Yes, seems great, right?
Yes.
And so the artwork is amazing. The theme is something we're into, and we spent 3 days learning it, then trying to figure out why we should like it, and figuring out why we didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to like that
Yeah.
game so badly. And when I watched some interviews with the developers, there's certain aspects of that game that didn't make any sense. And they basically, in one of the interviews, said, well, we had extra space for punch-outs, so we thought we'd add this other element that really doesn't do anything with the scoring or anything, building a
Yeah.
space station. And I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was going to be great with the theme. It is sad.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Now, as far as mechanics, whenever you're trying to teach new players, are there certain mechanics that you look towards or stray away from?
Well, tile building games are the easiest, I think, for me to teach. That and the connections, like Ticket to Ride and all of that. Those are the easiest. The games where everyone is doing something at the same time, while I like them and stuff, those are often hard to teach,
Yeah.
to corral 4 or 5 people into doing that. So,
Yeah.
so basically, we generally start with a tile building or building a destination, a connection, and go from there. But it really depends on the people we get in here,
Sure.
to tell you the truth. There's some people, we teach them the game, which is one of my favorite games. I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy how simple it is. And they fall in love with that. They don't want to learn anything else. They don't want to learn anything with tiles or anything else.
That's in hand management. I'd put that down there with tile laying and connections.
Mm-hmm.
Hand management goes with your older hearts and spades players. You have your cards. You need to make them work for you because you might have a hand of crap, but you still need to come out, something.
Yeah.
With newer players, there are certain mechanics I will hit absolutely first, just as you mentioned. There's a few that I'll stay away from, but then it's also personality. If I see some kind of more of the louder, shouty people, I'll get some area control in there. I'll throw out Mission Red Planet to a brand newbie if I think they're loud enough. Because, yeah, the simultaneous action selection is a little bit harder to teach, but as soon as people start picking off each other's spacemen, and when you get that first scoring where everybody starts getting their minerals, the orange gets you 3 points, the pink gets you 2, and the ice crystals just get you the 1. And they find out what's worth money, and like, oh, he shot me for that reason. Not just because he was being mean, which he was being mean, but he shot me for that reason. It puts strategy into you being mean, and then it starts, flipping some switches, and I love that.
Yeah.
So whenever you're going through your game, is there any mechanics that you feel like build on top of one another better than others? I guess what I'm saying is, the lighter ones, can they lead you to worker placement, to auctions, to your route building? I guess Ticket to Ride would lead into your Age of Steams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that when we took over the cafe, the old owners were great with us, and they left us a list of these are the games you need to learn because there's so many things based upon these 15 games, basically. And, we did that, and now when we're learning games, it's so much easier because you say, oh, well, this one just has pirates instead of castles.
Yes.
And so you start to see that after a while once you've learned some of the mechanics. So we have that list out here with all of our games. So we tell people, here, learn these ones, and then it'll open you up to anything in this section over here.
Absolutely.
So it's more of that, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the newbie when we first started dating, and I had no idea what a worker placement game was. He's like, "Oh, we'll play this one as worker placement." I was like, "I don't know what that means."
Yeah.
But now when he says this game's worker placement, all right, let's go. And like you said, it's the same mechanic rethemed for a different game. It makes it so much easier to understand to teach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my first month here, people were coming in and using all the terminology, and I thought, what am I doing? I don't know what a lot of these things are. And not a joke, last week I was talking to somebody explaining a game. They came in to buy something, and they stopped me and they said, we don't know what any of those terms mean. And then I realized I was using some of those terms now. And it wasn't like I studied them.
You were me a couple months ago.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool. It's kind of neat to do that.
It is, and it's one of those, once you get into the hobby, it's really quick where you go from, I don't know what any of this is, to having a conversation with the friend in the hobby, to where you're throwing all the stuff, and now your friends are being like, I don't know that person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have a running joke because at my show, 2 of our band members were frequent customers here, and they also knew every single game. I mean, they literally know everything. They're my game masters. They'll come in on certain nights and teach the more obscure games.
Yeah.
And they would bring them in, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? I don't want to do that. Like, that looks ridiculous. Like, I would kind of make fun of them and in a fun way and stuff, you know. And now I'm that guy that over the weekends when we have a lot of shows, I'm taking games in and explaining it. And one of them pointed out, now you're us. Like, you've become us now. You made fun of us all the time.
And I think it's one of the ones that it's the quickest changeover to become one of us.
Yeah.
It's only like a couple months after you bought your 10th game, I think you're pretty close to being one of us.
Mm-hmm. You just have to find the right, I still think, right theme that catches you. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, there's cool games about the universal monsters, which I love, or whatever.
Right. One of Rick was trying to explain different games. He's like, okay, so what do you want to play? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know what I want to play. He's like, well, there's a little bit harder game, but it's called Terraforming Mars. And you're taking Mars and you're putting water and greenery and you're terraforming a planet. And being a big sci-fi nerd who grew up watching Star Trek, I was like, ooh, yeah, that sounds really cool. And it was that theme alone, because if we had just started playing that game, it's a quite complicated game for a newbie, that I would have been like, nope. But I stuck in there because of the theme, and that made such a big difference. Yeah.
I tried to talk you out of playing that too.
You did. I was like, no, let's the one you were talking about, the terraforming game. He's like, all right.
Because we had some friends, and they were all deeper gamers like I am. And we were like, and she's like, what about that terraforming game? I'm like, I don't know. The other 2 were going, yeah, if she wants to play it, let's play it. I'm like,
that is odd, because that happens to us where we have all of our games categorized by difficulty level here and the type of game. And every once in a while I'll see one, and I'm like, I wonder what this is like, but it's in our red section, you know? And then I take it, and you get hooked on it, and at the end I say to everyone, it wasn't that hard. Like, it wasn't that hard to learn it. It's because you liked the thing. You liked the whole game. You know, if I had just jumped into the same exact mechanics and everything with a different theme, I probably would have hated it.
Yeah,
so.
Understood completely. Now, you were saying you play a lot of games with your family. How old are your kids?
I have twins that are 11. And so they do a lot. They handle all my social media and stuff. So
very cool.
They edit the videos, and they do all of that. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Crazy. But they are learning some of the more complicated games. I'm surprised. They're hooked on Mini Golf Designer right now. And so they're doing a lot of that. And there's a few games. My daughter loves Everdell. And there's a few that surprise me that, you know, they will learn them as well. They have that goal, as do our employees, to learn a game so that they can teach other people. So now they go around when we see a family, and they'll teach a family with kids
That's awesome.
how to play something.
Very cool.
What mechanics do they usually gravitate towards?
Well, basically everything. To tell you the
everything?
Truth. Yeah. They do a little bit. They love Cascadia. They love that. They love parks. They like that nature theme of things. So really any mechanic with those. But I'll tell you what we got hooked on was Catacombs.
Dexterity?
Yes, but we went crazy with that because I feel like that has dexterity, but there's also a lot of other elements in that. And I mean, we had like the deluxe version out here, and we had this room. We have a private game room here, and we had it all set up for Catacombs, like for 2 weeks. That's all we did in here. No one was allowed to use the room because we were learning everything. But my daughter learned it. We turned it over to her, 11 years old, and she learned every single thing about every character, everything about that game.
Nice. So, do you think it's easier to teach the younger mind or an older dog?
Well, the younger ones surprise me sometimes because when they come in, we'll start suggesting these simple games, and then I'll look over an hour later, and they're playing the much more advanced games that I never thought they would, and they're explaining them to people. So, but again, everybody's different, so it really depends. You know, we still get a lot of younger people that just want to play Mousetrap and Perfection and stuff like that, which is fine. But I'm often surprised because I feel bad in a way because we have a menu of games, which I'll show you guys, and it's set up just like a menu. Like you go to a restaurant, we have games for two, we have starters, we have the kids menu, and I'll show them the kids menu, and then like I said, an hour later they're doing everything else on there, and then I feel dumb that I showed them the kids menu.
I love that.
So what mechanics matter to you? Is that one of the biggest factors for you to buy or select your game? Let us know on our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/Hobby Gaming Network. But let's go on to the 7 in the 417 Gamers. Chris, follow us along.
Let's go.
You're listening to the 417 Gamer podcast. We'd like to thank Christopher James from the Branson Board Game Cafe, Dice and Dine, for coming on. If you're in the Branson area, what better place to visit than a place for $5? You have thousands of games at your disposal. You have a great staff wanting to teach you games. And you got some good eats right there that you can have while you're playing your games. Go down, visit Dice and Dine, the Branson Board Game Cafe. Now, on to the 7. The 7 in the 417 Gamers, of course. We like to talk about sometimes our favorite 7. This time, we're going to talk about 7 mechanics that you're going to find in board gaming. Chris has come on from the Board Game Cafe. Chris, start us off with number 7.
Number 7, one of our most popular mechanics is connections, or route building. Players forming a connection between 2 points on a board in order to score points. They're oftentimes to represent routes between destinations. I'm sure everyone knows Ticket to Ride. Mm-hmm. We have every single version you can possibly imagine. We just it's crazy. Carnegie Watergate, which is interesting to me. I think that game's a lot of fun. What do we have here? Transamerica and
Rajas of the Ganges.
Yeah, I haven't played that.
Rajas of the Ganges is really interesting because you have the dice that help you either do actions on the board or buy the tiles that connect your routes. Because you start with your own board with a Buddha up top, and you're trying to connect to the Buddha to the different areas on the side of the board so people can come visit.
Oh.
So you're making your connections, and each time you do that, it connects you, usually with points. Every once in a while, it's a little upgrade to your board. But
Ticket to Ride was one of the first ones that I learned, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, there's so many different ones now, and now with the expansions that you can get, or the different versions that you can get, with is it with the ships? They have the
Rails and Sails?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That one's popular with us, and it seems like new versions are coming out constantly.
We actually have several of the small box version games, like San Francisco, New York, and we really like those.
We absolutely love those for late night. If you want to get some type of game in, but you don't have a lot of time,
right?
You can get those small box games in about 20, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So each time when one of those pops up, we try and grab it. This summer, the Berlin got unveiled at Gen Con, so when that hits retail, we'll probably be picking that up.
Yeah.
That brings us to number 6, Rondell's. In the game group, Catherine, this is one of her favorites. Rondell's have actions around a wheel as pie wedges. On a player's turn, they move their token along the wheel to take the action they wish, but it is typically more expensive to move further along the wheel to get the further action. These games include Navigador, Patchwork, Crusaders, They Will Be Done, or Red Cathedral. In Patchwork, very simple, you guys are making quilts, and as you move your token, whenever you take a piece, it has 2 economies on it. It's buttons and time. And the buttons is a resource you have in front of you. You have to have that to spend on the piece. But the time mechanic will move you along the game board. And as you move, you'll move further in front of your opponent, and they keep on taking their turn until they pass you up. So if you take a really expensive piece that covers a lot of space on your board, it's nice, but it's also, what are you giving your opponents? How much time do they have to do all the stuff?
They might get 2 or 3, even 3 turns out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Craftwagon by, I think that was Stronghold Games that printed that. That's another one that you have all the actions in a circle. You can go as far, when it's your turn, you can go as far ahead as you want, but everything you left behind you, you leave your opponents to then take those little actions behind you, and they might get way more for their buck than you could, but at the same time, if that's what you need, and you don't want anybody to take it from you, sometimes it's what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of learning one, New York Zoo.
Oh, New York Zoo's great.
We love New York Zoo.
That's my game of the week. We try to learn 3 games a week. So
3 games a week.
Wow. Bravo, sir.
Yeah.
And that's a Uve, too. We really like that one.
Yeah.
Andrea, cooperative games.
Yes, I actually do like cooperative games.
Number 5.
These are games where players are working together to reach a common goal or some global conditions like pandemic, beacon control, horrified, or Gloomhaven. One of the first cooperative games, the first cooperative game I played was Pandemic, which Rick brought over to play with my family right at the beginning of shutdown.
Oh,
and I was like, I don't think this is appropriate to be playing right now. He's like, there's never been a better time.
That's funny.
So I like working together. Rick prefers the competitive games because he's very competitive. I like bringing people together to get our save our planet, stuff like that. I find that especially when we're teaching new people games, it helps because they feel like they're part of the team and included, and rather than them just getting whipped up on a few turns until they learn how to play. I don't know. I feel like that's a soft way to introduce people to games.
Yeah, they're growing on me quite a bit, the cooperative games. Because our family's rather competitive, let's just say. Well, I'm more competitive than them. Understand. But Horrified, I can't get enough of Horrified right now. In fact, that's my feature game today that I'm teaching here at the cafe. But I can't get enough of it. Like everybody that comes in, I'm like, come over here. I got to show you how to play this.
We love it.
And I don't know what was in, but I think they've announced the 3rd in the series coming. So I'm interested in that one. Now, cooperative games I like at a time. And I'm really sold on Beacon Patrol right now.
Yeah.
Oh, me too. We just did that 2 nights ago.
Beacon Patrol is so good. And I picked it up because her birthday was just a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And it was supposed to be a birthday present, but when I got home, some stuff was happening that I had to go take care of. And I left it right there, and she goes, "What's this?" And I'm, well, it's supposed to be a birthday gift, but we could play it.
And I'm glad we did, because we played it
immediately another time or two.
Yeah.
We did too. One of my suppliers sold me on that. I needed an extra game.
Yeah.
And they said, well, try this. You have lighthouses. And I thought, why would I want to do this? Like, it looked so simple when we got it. We debated whether to put it out for sale or put it in our library. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? We'll give it a try. I hear people talking about it. And we got so hooked. We stayed here after we closed and kept playing it. Because I said, this should not have this much strategy in it. Like, it's such a simple game.
It's relaxing. Yeah. It was a nice Sunday. It was hot out there. We didn't want to go out there.
Right.
She just sat there and she held the kitty because the kitty wanted to be held for that.
Yeah.
Just put out a tile.
And we're like, hey, should we stay together? Should we split up? You go that way, I go that way. It was very enjoyable.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Chris, it brings us to number 4.
Closed drafting. And that's when players are selecting items from private groups or a group of items and then passing the remaining to their neighbors. And that would include Sushi Go, which we play a lot.
Yeah.
We really get into it. We use chopsticks when we play it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Draftosaurus,
awesome.
which is kind of neat because it doesn't have cards.
Yeah.
So actually using little dinosaurs. But we figured out how to cheat with that. You can feel the different shapes. And, Blood Rage and 7 Wonders.
Yes.
And so that one's kind of neat because you have to not only look at what's good for you, but what's bad for the other people as you're passing along. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like closed drafting to a point, but the deeper games make it really hard to bring a newbie in. Because in Blood Rage I'll play Blood Rage with friends if everybody knows it. But if you bring somebody brand new, they're going to be handing their neighbors, especially if it's a 4-player game, they're going to be handing the other 2 of the game. And if you're sitting across from the newbie, you're not getting any of that good stuff. But I really like Draftosaurus. Jess and Sarah from Village Meeple in Springfield, they're the ones that turned us onto that. Mm-hmm. If you like the drafting games, if you like cute and dinosaurs, it's absolutely perfect. Yeah. Get your handful of dinosaurs and then pass your little dinosaurs to the next player. That brings us to number 3, open drafting. So you're still drafting cards or resources, but it's out in the open where everybody can see it. Open drafting has players taking items from a common pool of resources, abilities, or more. These games include 7 Wonders Duel, Concordia, Ticket to Ride, and Dominion.
Dominion. Yeah. We got a whole rack of Dominion out there. There's so many different versions and expansions of that.
Yeah. Me and Dominion don't get along.
Yeah, I keep going back to it every once in a while.
Understood.
Because,
I don't begrudge people that do like it. But
But the people that do like it love it.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
We have people that come in, they know exactly what versions they want. They put a stack of them on the table, and they're here, 10 hours, 12 hours
Yes.
playing just Dominion.
yeah, there's several Etsy sites where people have made wooden lazy Susans that are just for Dominion.
Oh.
So where you have your tableau row, and then you have the decks you can put on the outside of it, spin it up, that way everybody can pull their stuff.
Oh.
They're pretty cool.
I'll have to look
Yeah.
into that.
Number 2, Andrea.
Deck building. Deck building, you have either your pool building, bag building. Players typically start with a small deck of low-value, ineffective cards, but over the course of the game, they'll acquire more cards to boost their deck, maybe so they can purchase better cards or create more income or increase damage or even victory points over the game's related resources. Examples would be Dominion, Star Realms, which we play quite a bit, Trains, Thunderstone Quest, or Orleans, which is pool building. Star Realms was one of the first games that you taught me, which was just cards, and I was like, "Well, where's the rest of the game?" He's like, "It's just a deck of cards," and I was like poker? He's like, "Not like poker," but it was. I really enjoyed it. It was attacking ships and space battles, and who wouldn't like that?
I enjoyed Dominion, or not Dominion.
Yeah. Oh.
You stuck on it.
See, a little Freudian slip here.
Yeah.
Star Realms was the first deck builder I liked. Previously, all the the whole reason why I got into board gaming, especially modern board gaming, is because my friends and I were growing apart from playing all the online games. We didn't see each other hardly at all. We got together one night, played Risk, and Risk is an old game and it shows its age. We had a great time together, but the game kind of sucked. And when my friend said, "Hey, there's better games out there," he'd already known about some of the hobby games, so I went, and I've had a 8-year deep dive into hobby board gaming now. But my first couple of deck builders felt like multiplayer solitaire. Okay, you grab the cards you want, she's going to grab the cards she wants, I'll grab the cards I want, you let me know when you're done. And at the end of the game, one of us won. And I did not enjoy that interaction. Star Realms, I'm attacking you. You have your fleet of ships, I have my fleet of ships, and I'm attacking you. And now, Dominion fans will tell me, well, you're not playing with the right expansions. And my argument was, if I expand this game to make it something palatable for me, it's not a game for me.
Yeah.
But at this point in gaming, I've bought so many games that on the surface, I didn't care for it first, but then once I got the expansion, I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Right.
I understand.
Right.
So.
Okay.
That brings us to number 1, Chris.
Number 1, and I was just playing this before you got here, and that's worker placement. Worker placement games are action drafting games where players place tokens, for example, workers, on board game spaces to take actions. Each player typically has a limited number of tokens or workers, and the action spaces to use them are finite. And that would be like Lords of Waterdeep, Viticulture, if you like wine. Okay, I've never had wine in my life, but I've played the game. And Kalis and Everdell, which is kind of a cute little game.
It is.
Building that. But my favorite is Stone Age.
Stone
Age. In fact, we just had it out because we're trying to do Ice Age because it's so hot outside.
Yeah.
So we're doing a psychological thing here today. But I love that. I love putting the little workers out and only having and feeding them and all that with Stone Age. I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
put that number 1 on the list of our mechanics to read off because that is my favorite mechanic to do. We've got Lords of Waterdeep. We've got Viticulture. I've got Archon, Glory of Machinations. I probably have 15, 20 worker placement games in our collection. Coldwater Crown is another worker placement about fishing. You cast your token out, which is your worker, and either you get rid of your resources to catch the fish, or you go get more bait in your tackle box so you can then later catch fish. But worker placement, it's that I can get in your way, but I'm generally not going to attack you personally. So I'm interacting with my friends, but the ones that can't take me immediately rolling dice and taking their guys off the map, I get to interact with them, but I can't be so mean that they're going to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really like Everdell too. And another one where the expansions really help with the game.
Where you had the waterfront. Yeah,
and it's
Pearlbrook, Waterfront. We usually only do one expansion at a time. One of our friends, David from Board Game Famous, he also has a podcast. He does a version called Everydale. He does all the expansions at once.
Oh, wow.
He's taking pictures of this where he has everything.
Oh, it's huge.
And it's, I don't know, maybe if you go to Metagames and go to their miniatures tables, it'll hold every bit of Everydale. But I don't know anybody that has a kitchen table that can play Everydale. But
now, would you consider parks where you're placing the little worker on the trail? Would that be worker placement? Because you can only have one worker on each stop.
Right. You just have the one worker. I think
one
that
hiker,
is more of, not quite the Rondell because you never come back. There's a mechanic called the ratchet mechanic that you can go as far forward as you want to take what you want, but you can't go back. Tokaido does that, which is about a journey through Japan, and you're going to various places, getting food, seeing the scenery, buying souvenirs, giving donations to the temples. You can only do so much because each of those places have only like 1 or 2 slots for people to visit. So if all those are clogged up, you've got to go to the next one in line, or you go further, but then you're missing out on stuff. Sir Francis Drake is 2 parts of a game. You're building up your ships to go on your journey, but it's a dock of resources. You can go as far as you want to get your resources to then put on your ship, but you can't go back on the dock because everybody's basically a tube of toothpaste. You're at you're where you are. If you go farther ahead, the toothpaste catches up to you and you can't go back.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you very much for coming on the 417Gamer podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's fun with you guys. I enjoy listening to you.
Well, I appreciate it. Some social medias before we get out here for the Game Cafe.
Yes, go to bransonboardgamecafe.com. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're all over the place. I post a lot.
We do. And we try and share it over the 417Gamer on the Facebook.
Yeah, we just want to keep people informed. So we try to do, usually I'm doing 2 videos a day. So
and you were just saying that you've just started a new thing on Sundays called Sunday School?
Sunday School, yeah, where people can come in and I pick 2 different games with 2 completely different themes. This week is Cascadia, okay, nature and all that, and Horrified. So kind of the opposite. And they come in and I'll sit and teach them and even play a round or 2 with them. So yeah.
In addition to the Game Cafe, you also do comedy.
A little bit, yeah.
Where can people find you there?
Showboat Branson Bell. You can come on there and see me pretty much every day. I've been here 19 years. So 7,500 shows in this town. So.
And where's your YouTube at?
YouTube, you can just look up Funny Hyper Magic. Funny Hyper Magic or Christopher James Comedy. And I was actually on YouTube the month that it started. And if you go all the way back on there, you'll see those videos from...
How cool is that?
So long ago. Yeah, I was doing it, and a friend of mine said, who's going to sit and watch videos on a computer screen? Who's going to want to do that? Yeah.
As soon as they put them on a tablet, you can take the computer screen everywhere. Everybody.
People thought I was a fool for recording videos and putting them on there. They thought it was ridiculous.
Wow. Ahead of your time, man.
I guess so.
Well, thank you very much. And
Thank
we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Goodbye. The 417Gamer podcast was recorded and produced by Rick Bagwell and Andrea Smith. The music we use, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and Making Up for Lost Time, was created by Origami Replica. For our show notes, head over to the Facebook page at Hobby Gaming Network, and a big shout out for Christopher James from the Dice and Dine Branson Board Game Cafe and Showboat Branson Bell for coming on. Until the next episode, keep gaming in the 417. Basically, back in like 2014, we just had a couple game nights, but it was hard to get everybody on the same page to find out where we were and all that stuff. So we started the meetup. We started the Facebook group, where we actually just started a Facebook page before they even had groups. It was just 417Gamers. But you couldn't talk amongst back and forth to people until, I think, 3 years later when they created groups. So then we wanted to, instead of just being Springfield board game group, we wanted to open it up because we had friends that were trying to do game groups in Ozark and Nixa and Republic. And they had agreements to like some of their local, like, I think one of them was going to do theirs in the VFW hall down in Nixa. Another one was going to do the community center in Republic. And they just wanted a messaging board so we could say, hey, these are the game nights to be able to go to. It is morphed and changed, and people have moved and married, remarried, had kids. Some sadly have passed on. But in its essence, 417 Gamers was created so we could get more messaging out about all the gaming opportunities in the area. A lot of people want us to come out and do game days with them, and if we have the time, we'd love to. But we just don't have time to do all of the things.
Right.
But on top of that, we started a YouTube page 2 or 3 years ago, and with all the politicals and all that stuff, it's hard to get traction because some people got off of Facebook because of this reason, and then got off of Twitter and now X because of that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be more of a resource for people to every first of the month for the last 2 years. We've been putting out a YouTube video. Basically, the first segment is all the gaming events that we know of, board gaming events. Then anything that pertaining to our convention, Moon City Con, posting the updates. And then the last segment, every Friday in the 417 Gamer group, we ask a question of the week. And then we do a review of the pictures of the previous month from the board games from the different groups.
Oh, okay.
So we do that the first of the month. We've been doing that for the last 2 years. We'd like us to be a resource for the game stores and the gamers in the area. So just give you an introduction of who I am and what we kind of do.
Okay. Yeah, sounds great.
And the convention wasn't ever to make a big profit. There were several comic-style conventions in the area, and all of them tried to do 7 different fandoms all at once. And the board game section is kind of antithetical to what everybody else is doing. So you got your cosplayers, they like some music going. You have your LARPers, they like some music going. Trying to teach a board game, especially a medium weight or heavier, with one more time blaring in the background is not the most fun endeavor.
Yeah.
So we figured, if we're not getting the convention we would like, and there's tons of great board game conventions out in the U.S., why don't we make one that we do like? So that's what Moon City Con kind of developed out of.
When was that? Was that in May or June?
Our very first one was April. It's now June. We've had to move around dates.
Just for venues.
For venues.
Because we were trying to go to it, but we couldn't because that's when everything kicks in for us.
Sure.
So.
That's what. Yeah. And every area where we were trying to get dates would kill some of our peoples.
Yeah.
Like we hit September one year, but it's right when school starts, so a lot of the people that teach in our group, they couldn't go to that one. June is nice because a lot of the teachers are off and can come out, but then anybody that works at the shows that are seasonal down here in Branson, anybody that does any outdoor recreational places, so like camping, hiking, horse trails or anything like that, they can't come to the group.
Yeah.
And then when we did it in April, that was a couple things. Early graduation parties, spring break, and something else was big in April. There were 3 other things that were taking up people. So the first one we did was April 2017. Then the next one we did September of 2018. It was 2018, 2019.
2018 and 19, and then 20 we didn't do because
20
of the
because of
convention.
shutdown. That's right.
Or for the
So
pandemic.
April 2018, September of 2019, shut down for 2 years, and now we're back up and running. This was our 4th year. We finally got to do June back to back, pretty close to the dates. We're gonna try and keep it in June if we can, but
we had it pulled up on the computer to get the tickets or whatever, and we kept saying, okay, we're gonna do it if we're sure we can make it.
Right.
Yeah, but June, I have my show.
Oh,
I do
yeah.
500 shows here a year.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
So like trying, especially, I always say I work during your vacation.
Right.
So I'm working when people are off. So Friday nights, all day Saturdays.
Yeah, of course.
So so it's hard for us to go to things like that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.